Hi Max, thank you for coming today.
Hi, good to
Can
be
we
here.
know about you?
Absolutely. I'm Max. I'm 27 years old, and I make digital prototypes and little sort of gamifications in the world around us. So mostly augmented reality at this time.
Could you tell about your one of your recent projects so we understand more?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I what I do is usually very sort of goofy experiments, and it's always very small scale. And one project that I did recently I thought was really funny was to bring one of those city carpets to life, the mats that every child used to have with the roads on it, then you can play on them with toy cars. And I made it so that when you look at it with your phone or with AR glasses, it actually shows virtual little cars driving on it and little animations. So it brings the city to life. That was a project that I did recently.
When looking back, what kind of projects made you come up here with your this kind of interactive experiments? Like, do you remember?
Ah,
Could you recall your earlier experiments with the AR or earlier creative technology?
yeah, I'm
Your
thinking.
favorites?
Yeah, I'm thinking what the because I come from a background in visual effects for film, um, and I guess that there's some overlap there. Like, just in the form of that in film, I would be just editing the shots, and then in AR, you're creating a system that edits it in real time, basically. So it's kind of the same, except one is rendered and one is real time. And I really like the idea of digitally altering stuff and then and stylizing things or making it yeah, just changing visuals. And I'm thinking if there was a certain specific project that really showed me that this would be possible, but I think that it mostly started for me when Snapchat started releasing their Lens Studio, the platform, because when that came out back then, it was very rare, or yeah, just yeah, it was rare to see 3D models live on your phone overlaid onto the real world. And as soon as they made that platform, it was suddenly very easy to do that. You could just drag and drop and make your own visual effects, but in your phone. And everybody could make that themselves. So there was a lot of memes online, and it grew very quickly. And I thought that that was really cool. So I started making some stuff like that, and it spread really quickly. So that also showed the reach that it had. Like a lot of people wanted this, and it had like millions of views in the first few weeks. And those kind of things were really fun to work on because it felt like a very new sort of technology that was also very untapped and sort of raw because no company was doing it yet, but it was a lot of creators online doing it. So it was a very interesting niche to be in. I think that that's where I mean, that's definitely where my AR career started, doing the memes on Snapchat. But then before that, I was always interested in stuff like virtual reality. That is super interesting. I did a bit of like small game design thingies, but this is really I never would have expected that I actually went this route. I thought that I would always be in visual effects. So it was for me also a bit of a impulsive decision to start doing this. Yeah.
Did you study film?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Do you think any of your studies how they are projecting on your experiments today? If you were
Ah.
people to ask they what do they want to study, like what would you uh, would tell them from your experience that studying film, what makes it different in people's life?
Interesting. So, I mean, I am not the best person to ask since I'm not doing anything with that anymore. But I think that I really liked the study. It was the
Why did you study film then?
I really liked it. It was back then. That was what I thought I was gonna do. I was like really into visual effects. That was I was always playing around with After Effects in high school, and then just doing little edits and stuff. And then I heard about the Film Academy in Amsterdam, and that was a really cool place to actually learn real visual effects, like doing it the way that that gets you a job in big movie studios, and to actually work. In my case, as a compositor, I used to be like a visual effects compositor, specializing in that field. And I worked for a very short time there. I did a couple of visual effects studios, and it was really fun. Um, and that study was a really good study for that. But I also think that with the AR that I do now, or to be honest, with a lot of virtual sort of yeah, just digital production in a lot of ways, this really helps because visual effects makes you it makes you really think about color and about sort of also just digital signals, how to read data and what to do with it, but also color theory things or framing things in a composition. Or there's a lot of aspects in film that are still very relevant to what we do now, even though of course in AR you can't really have a composition as much because the user decides their own composition when they walk around. But there's a lot of things that are still very relevant. And I also feel that on a technical level, it really helped me. Like a lot of things, for example, learning shaders or learning any node graph in general has been much easier, I think, for me because I had that background already with visual effects. So it was something that I just needed to convert it to another program, but I didn't need to pick it up from scratch. So that probably helped a lot. Yeah.
Mhm. Uh, I remember one of your experiments with the photo. It's a quite
Yeah.
jump, but I would love to hear from you that you made an experiment that takes pictures of them and sends it to frame. Like,
Yeah,
could we
yeah,
talk
yeah.
about that a
Yeah,
little bit?
absolutely. That one is a bit different. I mean, I guess that's kind of
I
I
couldn't
love.
know how to
Yeah.
bound this now. Okay,
But
another project.
I love doing very different things. It's like this was a Raspberry Pi project with an old camera that my grandpa gave me, like a Polaroid camera, but it didn't work anymore, and I just had it in my room, and I was like, okay, I want to make this work. That would be really fun to have something. It didn't need to work the way that it used to, but I wanted to put something in there. Uh, because it's like an old Polaroid camera that has like those. It's like a big cube, it has like a lot of empty space inside of it. So I did remove the old camera stuff on the inside. I hollowed it out because it just didn't work and it wasn't worth it to keep that in there. But I really wanted to add just a little computer in there and make it like a sort of new thing that did its own thing. So what I made out of it was that when you take a picture with that camera, it sends the image that it takes with like a digital lens behind the original lens, so you don't really see it from the outside, and it sends that to a e-paper digital frame that you can put anywhere on the planet. So you can just my grandma has it now. So in her bookcase there's like a e-paper frame. So it looks like a real paper, it's like ink, like an e-reader screen. So it doesn't emit light, it just looks natural and it has color. And then sometimes it just when I take a picture in Amsterdam, it just like where she lives, it just starts like flashing and then it redraws the ink. And then after like 50 seconds or something, there's a new picture. And then she always texts me like, "Oh, I saw the new picture like with some friends or something," or I just do like whenever I'm doing anything. But I'm a little bit careful taking the camera outside because it is a bit fragile and I don't want to break it in my backpack or something. So, but that's I thought that it was like a really cool project to just to now have that camera in my room still, but then as a sort of useful object, something that actually can do something.
And you connect with your grandma in a way that you have
Yeah.
the relationship fresh and keeps going. It's very holistic. That
Yeah, indeed, because it was also the it was my grandpa's camera, so it felt right to then give the frame to my grandma. It just makes sense this way, I guess.
this matches with the next question very well. What inspires you? How you get your inspiration? Like, what makes you? Do you think that this kind of project pops up with your like? You casually go to your granddad's house and look at, oh, what can I repurpose? Like, how do you create your projects? Like when you look back the starting points.
Yeah, I think with this one, but in a lot of cases, probably it comes from a sort of place of trying to make things. What's the right word for that? Like adding a little bit of a sort of mystical element to something. So the Polaroid camera, I remember thinking all the way in the beginning, like how funny would it be if you were in some antique shop and there would be like a Polaroid camera there, but it would actually like if you take a picture it would send it to another frame, like the sort of the mystical element of it, that it's like a sort of alive. It looks like a dead object, but it has something there that makes it work. I had another idea that wasn't really viable, but it was to make compasses, two compasses that always point at each other, no matter where they are on Earth. So you can just take them any country, and then they will always point towards where the other compass is. So you can give them to two people, and then those kind of ideas, like just an innocent looking object that actually has some tech inside of it, or some sort of, something that looks very mysterious from the outside. I think that also with AR, that is where I'm usually coming from. I really like the idea of adding a layer on top of things, and yeah, kind of gamifying everything around me, or yeah, creating sort of uh, I mean, it's sort of like a magical layer that is very thin. It's very easy to see how it was built or what it does, but it's just like sort of adding a layer on top of stuff. And then, to be honest, another big thing for me that always gives me ideas is just the tech itself. Like whenever a new platform comes out, or some new tools, or I just figure out some sort of technique, I always think from that as a starting point as well. Like, okay, what can I actually, now that I have this thing that I've never seen before, that is quite rare, probably, or at least something that a lot of people haven't seen before. What can you do with that to really demonstrate the power of it? And then usually, if you come up with anything, it's gonna be an interesting idea because people just haven't seen it before. So it always has the novelty effect, I think. That's also another approach.
To your art, what you create, how would you describe that? What you explore? Are you exploring? Like, I have a small story. When I was in Belgium, I went to a museum, and there was the curator. Okay, I said hi. I was going up 6 stairs, and she just needed some time to rest. And she asked me. I asked him. Okay. I asked her, what do
Yeah.
you think about this artist? What makes it unique? And she told me that sometimes these artists are either escaping or something, or they are chasing something inside of themselves, or they are escaping something. Like, it was very interesting that
Ah, yeah.
how artists are creating. For someone who doesn't know you, didn't know you before, like, what are you exploring? What are you
Ah.
building with your creations, do you think? Like, from 27-year-old Max.
um, that is a bit of a big question.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure. I wouldn't exactly call myself an artist that strongly.
I can tell. You don't have to.
I'm more just somebody who likes to create things. But then still, like, yeah, where does that come from? I think that it's I think it's really fun to sort of to have the end result, to have to see what something was, and then see what it is now, and have that as your sort of, like, you made this, like, this is your thing that you did. And I always really like to just post also little R&D things or experiments that I do. I just post them online because people do appreciate the sort of just showing the steps that you took to get somewhere, or to the sort of the little, it can be like a super small incremental little thing, but as long as it's a new invention in some way, it's really interesting to me. That's something that I really want to do. So it's really sort of, I guess, inventing for the sake of inventing a little bit, but it's just fun to create stuff that is otherwise. I guess my ideas are always a little bit out there, like a little bit. When you see them on paper, it's a bit like, okay, why would you do that, or what's the point, or what value does it add? But then it always does make you laugh a little bit. I think it's like that I like the ideas that make me laugh, like that are funny, or that are in a way sort of surprising. And then if you actually do those things, despite that they're maybe not super useful, it is actually it always gets really good reactions, and it's like people actually really like to see it, and they really love the end result. So that's something that I do want to sort of pursue, I think, to actually create those silly ideas and to just go for it. But I'm not sure. I'm just making this up as I'm saying it. I haven't really thought about this before.
Great answer. Thank you. In future, I would love to keep seeing your work, and keep getting inspired by your work. Thank you for this episode, and sharing your genuine ideas. Thank you.
Thank you for doing this. That's really cool.